For 20 springs I laid yellow freesias on my daughter's grave. I never once thought I'd hear them sung back to me by the grandbaby I gave away.
Oh, my grandmother, a face I've never seen.
For 20 springs, I carried a bunch of yellow freesias up a hill to a grave, and stood by a stone that had my daughter's name on it, and told her I was sorry for the one thing I could never take back, which was that I had let them take her baby out of my arms, and I had not fought hard enough to keep her. I never once thought I would hear those same yellow freesias sung back to me from a television set, in a voice I had not heard in 20 years and would have known in the dark at the bottom of the sea. Before we go on with Della's story, if these quiet stories mean something to you, take a moment to subscribe and leave a like. And in the comments, tell me where you're listening from tonight. Wherever you are, I hope this light finds you warm. I was eating my supper alone that night, the way I ate every supper, a plate on my knees, the television on for the sound of other people's voices. So the little back apartment wouldn't be so quiet it rang. There was one of those singing shows on, the big national one, where young people walk out under the lights and the whole country decides in 3 minutes whether to love them. I wasn't really watching. I was just letting it run. And then the man's voice came over the speakers and said, "Our next singer is 22 years old, and she's here tonight with a song she wrote herself. Please welcome, to the center stage, Miss Nia Carver." And I dropped my spoon, because the girl who walked out into that light was my daughter Maya, who had been dead for 20 years. The same small face, the same set to the shoulders, the same way of tucking her chin before she was brave. I got up off my chair and I got down close to that screen with my hand pressed flat against the glass. And I heard myself say her name out loud in an empty room. Not Nia, but Maya, because for one breaking second I did not understand that I was looking at the baby I had given away, grown into the mother I had buried. And then that child opened her mouth, and she sang the first line of a song. She said she wrote herself, and the title of it went through me like cold water. She called it "To My Mother's Mother." I want you to understand, I sank down onto the floor of that apartment and I could not get back up, because I knew, before the second line, exactly who that girl was singing to. She was singing to me. She was standing in front of the whole country, looking for a grandmother whose face she had never seen, whose name she maybe didn't even know, and the only way she had thought to find me was to sing loud enough that the sound might reach the one back room in the world where I was sitting with a plate on my knees. If you have ever let a door close that you spent the rest of your life wishing you had held open, if there is a name you stopped saying because saying it hurt too much, stay here with me tonight. This story is for you. And before I go on, tell me where you're listening from and what the season's doing outside your window right now. Somewhere out there, someone you gave up on has been leaving a light on for you the whole time. My name is Della Freeman. I am 67 years old, and I have lived most of my life in the same 3 rooms, at the back of a house on the low end of a street most people drive through with the windows up. It's not much. A kitchen you can touch both walls of, a front room where the good light comes in for about an hour in the afternoon, and a bedroom I keep neat for no one but myself. I raised a daughter here, and I lost her, and for a little while, 13 months. And I could tell you the days, I raised her daughter here too, before I let her go. This is the story of how a song brought that child back up my front steps after 20 years. But to tell it right, I have to start with the rain. My Maya was 29 years old the spring she died. She was the whole of my heart. I had her late, and I had her alone. And I never once felt cheated of anything. Because a girl like that is worth a life of going without. She had just had a baby of her own, a little girl, Nia, 14 months old that spring, just starting to walk, just starting to reach up her arms to be carried. Maya had married a good, quiet young man named Andre Carver, and they didn't have much, but they had that baby and they had each other. And I used to sit in their little kitchen and think, Lord, I did something right after all. It was raining the night the phone rang. I remember I had the window cracked because I liked the smell of rain on warm pavement, and I have hated that smell every day since. Maya had run out to the store for diapers. That was all. A box of diapers. A 5-minute errand, and she was stopped at the light on Bell Street, waiting for it to turn. And a man came through the intersection, too fast in the wet, and could not stop. She was gone before the ambulance ever got there. The baby was home with Andre, 14 months old, asleep in her crib, and never knew a thing. Sometimes I think that mercy was the only mercy in the whole business. You have to understand, I told the young man at the studio, 20 years later, when he finally sat down beside me and asked me why an old woman had been sitting on his bench half the day. I didn't just lose my child that night. I lost the person I was going to be for the rest of my life. I had planned on being a grandmother who spoiled that baby rotten. I had it all pictured. And it all went out at once, like somebody flipped a switch on the whole future. I buried Maya on a hill outside of town, in a plot I paid for over 3 years, and I could not go into her old room in my house, the little room where she'd grown up, where I still had her things. I could not turn that doorknob for a long, long time, because if I opened it, I'd have to see that she wasn't in it. So I kept it closed. I closed a lot of doors that year. I have thought about that since. How a person who's been hurt bad enough will start closing doors just to keep from having to look through them. And how you can close so many you end up living in one little room in the middle of your own life. Andre was a good boy. And he was broken clean in half. He didn't know how to grieve and warm a bottle at the same time. No young man does. So I said what any grandmother would say. I said, let me take the baby a while. Let me keep Nia till you're back on your feet. And he nodded, because he couldn't speak. And that is how that child came to me. Those were the 13 months. I want to tell you about them, because they are the best thing I own. I would get up in the night, and she'd have my little finger in her whole fist, gripping it in her sleep like she was afraid I'd float off. She had Maya's laugh already, that same surprised little sound. I told myself, God, forgive me. I told myself my Maya had come back to me made small again, and I had a second chance to do it all over and not lose her this time. I know now you shouldn't put that on a baby. But grief will make you believe anything that lets you breathe one more day. Then Andre met someone, a woman named Denise. And I did not hold it against him. I want you to hear me say that, because it matters later. A young man cannot stay frozen at the bottom of a well forever. And Denise, from everything I heard, was kind and steady and good with the child. They were going to marry and Nia was going to have a mother again. That is what I told myself I wanted. That is what I did want, on my good days. But there was a supper. The two families, sitting down together the way you do before a wedding, to be gracious and to sort things out. And Denise's mother, a proud woman, used to running her family's affairs. She waited until the plates were cleared, and she put her hands flat on the table, and she said the things she had come to say.
Miss Freeman, I'm going to speak plain, because I think you're a woman who'd rather be spoken to plain, she said. That child needs one mother. Denise is going to be that mother, and she's going to raise her as her own, whole and complete. And no child can do that looking two directions at once. If Nia's back and forth between a grandmother's house and ours, always half belonging in two places, she'll grow up not knowing who she is. It'll confuse her. It'll hurt her. I've seen it happen. So I'm asking you, for that baby's sake, and not for anybody's comfort, to let this be a clean start. Loosen your grip a little. Let her be theirs.
And Lord help me, I couldn't find the place where she was wrong. I sat there turning it over and over, and every way I looked at it, it came out sounding like love. A clean start. One mother. For the baby's sake. I've spent 20 years finding the lie folded up inside those pretty words. And here is the lie. They told me the loving thing to do was to disappear. And I believed them. Because part of me was so afraid I couldn't survive letting go slow. A visit here. A visit there. My heart tearing off in strips, that a clean break sounded almost like a kindness to myself. I dressed my cowardice up in that woman's reasoning, and I called the whole thing sacrifice. Andre wouldn't look at me across that table. He just kept his eyes down on his folded hands. I held that baby all night long. The last night, I said. I knew it was the last night. Nobody told me in so many words. But I knew. I sat up in my chair with her asleep on my chest. And I memorized her. The weight of her. That good, clean baby smell at the back of her neck. And I whispered to my Maya, up in heaven. I said, baby, I couldn't keep your girls safe from these good, reasonable people and their good, reasonable words. I'm sending her somewhere warm. Please forgive me. That's the prayer I prayed. I've never prayed a worse one. The next morning, I took Nia to Andre and Denise's, and at the door, that baby wrapped both arms around my neck and would not let go. 14. Well, near 2 by then. And she didn't have the words. She just had the grip. The same grip she used on my finger in the night. And she did not want to come loose from the one body she'd been sleeping against for over a year. And I pried her little hands off me one finger at a time, and I heard myself telling her a lie, in the bright, cheerful voice you use on a baby. Grandma's gonna come see you real soon. Baby, you be good. Let go of Grandma's hand now. Grandma's coming right back. That was the last thing I ever said to her. And I never went back. Not once. In 20 years. I told myself it was because Denise's mother was right. Because staying away was the loving thing. But the truth is uglier and simpler than that. I stayed away because I knew that if I ever stood on that porch again, I would not be able to walk back down the steps without her. I wasn't strong. I was just scared. And I let scared drive for 20 years. Do you know how long 20 years is? It's long enough for the dust to build up on a windowsill and get wiped away and build up again 100 times. It's long enough for a woman's hair to go from black to gray to white. It's long enough to lose a daughter and a granddaughter in the same season, and then get up every single morning after and make coffee and wash one cup and sweep a floor nobody walks across but you. For a while, every spring, I'd take myself up that hill with the yellow freesias. Maya loved them. They were the cheap flower at the corner stand when she was little, and she'd always point at the yellow ones. So those were her flower, and they stayed her flower. I'd lay them on the stone, and I'd tell her about the nothing that had happened to me that year. And I'd tell her I was keeping her girl in my prayers, even though I didn't know a single true thing about her. Didn't know her school, her church, whether she was tall, whether she was happy, whether anybody had ever told her she'd once had a grandmother who'd held her through the night. 20 bunches of yellow freesias. That's the arithmetic of what I had left. I'll tell you something I haven't told many people. This past year, my mind started slipping. Little things at first. I'd stand in the kitchen and not know if I'd turned the stove off, and have to go back and check it 3 times. I'd take my pills and forget I'd taken them. The nurse at the clinic did some tests and sat me down real gentle and said it might be the early part of the forgetting sickness, the one that takes your memory a piece at a time. And you know what I felt? Hearing that? For just a second, I felt something like hope. Because I thought, if I'm going to forget things, maybe I can finally forget this grief. Maybe this weight will be the first thing to go. But the mind is a strange and cruel instrument, because everything else started to blur, and the one thing that stayed sharp as the day it was taken was that baby's first birthday photograph. The one picture of her I had, a little girl in a paper crown with cake on her chin, laughing up at somebody just out of the frame. That picture only got clearer. Some things your mind decides it will not let you set down, no matter how much you'd give to. Have you got a memory like that? One you'd trade almost anything to be rid of, and it just won't go? Leave me a word below, if you do. I have learned, this late in my life, that the biggest comfort there is comes from finding out you were never the only one. And then came that supper on my knees, and that television, and that girl walking out into the light with my dead daughter's face. I told you I sang to the floor. What I didn't tell you is what she sang. She sang about a woman in a photograph she'd never been allowed to meet.
Smiling like
She sang about a name she'd never gotten to say out loud. And then, in the second verse, plain as anything, she sang about
never
yellow
let me hold
freesias,
her hand.
about somebody who climbed a hill every spring
Never let
to
me
lay
hear
yellow
her
freesias down for a
voice
mother
the
she couldn't
same.
visit herself. I had never told a living soul about those freesias.
Mother of my
Not
mother,
one. That was between
tell
me
me
and my
where
Maya,
you
and a hill
go.
outside of town. And
I've
here
been
was this child
carrying
singing them
you.
out over the whole country.
And didn't even know.
How? I said out loud.
So I'm
to the
singing
empty
to
room.
the open
How
air,
do you know about the freesias?
praying that you're somewhere out there.
Who told you?
Everything I never got to
Nobody
say.
told her.
I am
I found
laying
that
it
out
all down today.
She'd made most of it up out of love. A
Grandmother,
granddaughter imagining what a
oh
grandmother she'd never
my
met.
grandmother,
And she'd imagined it so true it landed on the exact right flower.
I've never
That's the part one still
seen.
can't think about too long without having to sit down.
I'll call
That a
your
child could
name
keep the
out
clock 20 years
loud
of silence with nothing but
tonight.
her own aching heart to go on.
the name
get it
that's lived
When the
in
song
me.
ended, that whole studio was quiet for a second.
Grandmother,
And two of the three judges were wiping their
grandmother,
and the host had to clear his throat
wherever
before he could talk.
you
And I sat
may
on the
be.
floor, and I could not cry. Because I was the only
If you
person
can
watching
hear
in the
the
entire
song
country
at
who knew who
all,
that song was for.
come on
She was calling me,
and answer.
and I was sitting in a back room, on the floor, holding a spoon I dropped, too far away to answer. I did not sleep that night. Near dawn, I got up and I dug the photograph out of the drawer, the paper crown, the cake, the laugh, and I held it up next to the memory of the girl I'd just seen under those lights. And they were the same face. 20 years apart and the same face. I knew what I had to do, and I was terrified of it, because I had spent 2 decades being a coward, and I did not know if I had it in me to be anything else. But that morning I did something I had not done in 20 years. I opened the closet and I took out the one good suit I owned. The navy one, still in its dry cleaner's plastic, the one I'd bought for a wedding and worn to a funeral and not touched since. I pressed it. I put it on. I put the photograph in my pocketbook. And I rode 2 buses across the city to the front gate of the television studio. An old woman in a good suit, gonna ask the whole machinery of a national program to give her back her grandbaby. The guard at the gate was not a bad man. He was just a man who'd heard it all before.
Ma'am, I can't do that. I'm sorry. You can't just come to the gate and get put in touch with a contestant. You'd need an appointment. And even then, we don't give out anybody's personal information. I understand you're upset. But you have to understand my position too. I get 3, 4 folks a week down here swearing they're somebody's long lost this or that. I can't send every one of them upstairs.
I took the photograph out with my hand shaking, and I held it up to him. Sir, I am not somebody's long-lost anything. I am that child's grandmother. That is her, right there, on her first birthday. Her mother was my daughter, and her mother has been dead 20 years, and I have not laid eyes on this baby since before she could talk. I saw her on your program last night, singing a song calling for me, and I am begging you. I am too old to be proud about it. I am begging you to just get word to somebody that I'm here. He looked at that photograph a long time. I could see he wanted to help me. But rules are rules. And a man's got a job, and he shook his head slow and said he was sorry. And he meant it. And it didn't change a thing. So I went and I sat down on the bench by the gate. And I sat there. The morning had been clear, and it clouded over while I sat. And people came and went and looked at me sideways. And I did not get up. Because I knew, the way you know a hard, true thing, that if I got up off that bench, I would go home and lose my nerve and never come back. And I would die in my 3 rooms, having been that close, and turned around. I had let go of a grip once before in my life. I was not going to do it twice. I'd been there maybe 3 hours when a young man stopped in front of me. He had a badge on a lanyard and a kind, tired face, and he crouched down a little so he wasn't looking down at me.
Ma'am, I've walked past you 3 times now. You've been sitting out here since this morning. That's not nothing. Nobody sits on a concrete bench for 3 hours over nothing. My name's Elijah. I'm one of the producers on the show. Will you tell me what brought you all the way down here?
So I told him. I told it short. The way you learn to tell the worst thing that ever happened to you. A daughter. A rainy night. A baby I gave up. 20 years. A song. And he listened to the whole thing without once looking at his phone. Which is how I knew he was a decent person. And when I was done, he was quiet a moment, and then he asked me a question in a careful voice.
Ma'am, can I ask you your daughter's name? Nia's mother. What was her name?
Maya, I said. Maya Freeman. Carver, after she married. But Freeman first. And I watched that young man's face change. Something moved behind his eyes, and he sat back on his heels, and he said, real soft, "Would you wait right here for me? Please. Don't move. I'll be right back." And he went through that gate almost at a run. He was gone the better part of an hour. I sat there the whole time with my heart going like a bird against a window. And when he came back out, he wasn't alone in himself anymore. He had that look a person gets when they're carrying something they're afraid to drop. He sat down next to me on the bench and he took a breath.
Miss Freeman, about 2 weeks ago, before the live shows started, Nia came and found me. And she gave me an envelope and she made me promise her something. She said, and I wrote it down, because I didn't want to get it wrong. She said, if a woman ever comes to the studio and says she's my grandmother, and her daughter's name was Maya, you give her this. Don't ask her to prove anything. Just give it to her. I've had that envelope in my desk drawer for 2 weeks, thinking it was a long shot. Miss Freeman, she's been waiting for you to come. She left this for you.
And he put a white envelope in my hands. I could not open it. I sat there and I held it, and I turned it over and over, and I could not make my fingers do it, because I didn't know which I was more afraid of, that it would be full of a young woman's anger, 20 years worth, asking me how I could have left her, or that it would be full of the opposite. Some tenderness I had done nothing to earn and could not bear to be handed. Elijah saw me struggling, and he stood up and said he'd give me a minute. And he stepped a little ways off. And I opened my granddaughter's letter with my hands shaking so bad I tore the flap. There were 2 pages in a young, round, careful hand.
To the grandmother I've never met. My name is Nia. I'm 22. Last year, my mother Denise, the one who raised me, sat me down and told me the truth about where I came from. She told me my first mother, Maya, died when I was a baby, and that before I came to live with them, I lived for over a year with my grandmother, my mother's mother, who loved me and held me and had to give me up. She told me that woman was still out there somewhere. And she told me she was sorry it had been kept from me so long. From the night I heard it, I could not sleep.
I had to stop reading. I pressed those pages to my chest, and I bent over them right there on the bench. Because she knew. All those years I thought that child had grown up never knowing I existed. And she knew. Somebody had kept me alive for her. I kept reading.
I wanted to find you, but I didn't know where to start. I didn't have a name or a town or anything. Just that you were out there and that you'd loved me once. And I thought, the only thing I know how to do is sing. So I thought, if I can just get on that big show, if I can just get in front of enough people, Maybe she'll be watching. Maybe the sound will find her. That's why I wrote the song. That's why I called it To My Mother's Mother. It was never really for the judges. It was a message in a bottle. And you were the ocean. Grandma, if you're reading this, it worked. It found you. My number's on the back of this page. Please call me. I'm not angry. I never was. I've just been waiting my whole life for you to hold me again. I don't even remember it, but somehow I've missed it every day.
I turned the page over, and there was a phone number, written large and careful, and under it she'd drawn a little sun. A child's sun, with the rays coming off it. 22 years old, and she drew me a little sun so I'd know it was going to be all right. Elijah drove me part of the way home himself, because I was in no condition for 2 buses. And before I called that number, I made another call first, and I want to tell you about it. Because it's the part of this story that taught me the most. I called Denise, the mother who raised her. Elijah had gotten me her number too. And you have to understand, for 20 years, in the private, ugly back room of my heart, I had let myself resent that woman. She was the one who'd taken my baby, I told myself. She and her mother, with their clean start and their one mother, and their reasonable voices. I had made her the villain of my life because I needed somewhere to put all that grief, and it was easier to aim it at her than to aim it at my own cowardice. So when I dialed her number, I braced myself like a woman knocking on a door she expects to get slammed. She answered on the second ring, and I said, "Denise, you don't know me. I'm Della Freeman. I'm Maya's mother. I'm the grandmother. The one who," and I couldn't finish it. And there was a silence on the line. And then she started to cry. And she said the thing that took the last 20 years of my life and turned it inside out.
Miss Freeman. Oh, thank God. I have been waiting for this phone call for a whole year. I have prayed for it. Miss Freeman, I'm the one who should be asking you to forgive me. My mother, God rest her, she thought she was doing right, but she was wrong. And I let her be wrong for too long because I was young and I didn't know how to stand up to her. But I never let Naya forget you existed. When my mother passed, I promised myself I'd tell that child the truth. And last year I did. And I have been trying to find you ever since, and I couldn't, and I about gave up. Naya said she'd find you her own way. She said she'd sing till you heard her. Miss Freeman, she did it, didn't she? She found you. I need you to hear something, and then I'll hush, she said. Every year on Maya's birthday, I told that little girl about her first mother. And every year, I told her there was a grandmother out there who'd loved her first, before any of us. I kept a chair at our table for you, Miss Freeman, in my own heart, the whole time. I'm not the woman who took your grandbaby. I'm just the woman who was keeping her warm till you could come and get the part of her that was always yours.
I have been resented, and I have resented, and I will tell you there is no heavier thing to set down than a resentment you've carried so long it's grown into the shape of your own hands. 20 years I'd made that woman a stranger and an enemy. And she'd been sitting up on her side of the city keeping my name lit like a pilot light so it wouldn't go out. Some people leave a light on for you, and you spend years cursing them for the dark. Naya's big night, the finals, was that Saturday. Denise reserved me a seat in the family section, right down front. And she called me back the next day and asked would I please not tell Nia I was coming, because Nia needed to sing her best that night. And if she knew I was in that audience, she'd fall to pieces before the first note. So we agreed. I would sit down front, and my granddaughter would not know until it was over that the ocean had shown up to hear the message in the bottle. I will not be able to give you that Saturday the way it deserves. There are some things too big to fit down into words. And me sitting in a velvet seat, in a bright loud hall in my navy suit, with a photograph in my pocketbook and my whole heart up in my throat, waiting for a child to walk out under the lights. That's one of them. But I'll try to give you the end of it. She came out, and she was so beautiful I had to hold
If you
her
can
arms in
hear
my chair.
this song at all,
She had grown into her mother's face completely now. My Maya's face, with something all her own laid over the top of it. And she sat down at the piano,
on a
and
hill
she
where
said
my
into the
mother
microphone that
sleeps.
she wanted to sing her song.
Somebody
one more time,
lays the
same
flowers
song,
down,
to my mother's mother.
yellow
But that she
freesias every
finished it.
spring.
She said
20
the
years
version
and still
everyone
she
had heard
comes
before
around.
had no ending,
I don't
because
know
her
your
own story
hands,
didn't
I
have one
don't
yet.
know your face, but
But
I
this
feel you in that quiet
she said,
place.
and her
20
voice
years of
caught.
tears
This
I
week something
saved.
happened.
I'm pouring in the song I made. Grandmother, this voice is mine. Please, oh please, just give a sign. Grandmother,
She'd never seen.
oh
And the
grandmother, the face I've never seen.
And it was about the door finally opening.
I'll call your name out loud tonight. The name that's lived in me. Grandmother, oh my grandmother, wherever you may be.
When the last note died, the host
If you
came
can hear
and
this
he
song
was not
at
steady
all,
either. And
come
he
on
said,
and answer
Naya,
me.
I understand there's someone here tonight.
Don't you tell me
And
it's
her
too
face,
late.
She didn't understand.
Love was never bound by
And they brought me out of
time.
my soul.
What my
And
mother
somebody
couldn't
took my
say,
arm and walked me
I
up
will
on
sing it
backstage for all that
line
was.
by line. Come and find me. Come and find me. Come and find me. Come and find me. I have left the porch light on.
She knew before I said a word.
Grandmother,
She put both her hands over her mouth, and then she crossed backstage,
at
and she wrapped
last
both her
I'm
arms around my neck.
finding
The
you.
same grip. 20 years later, and it was the same
The
grip.
name
Both
I
arms around my
only
neck,
cried and
holding on like she was afraid I'd
said,
put on. Exactly the way
I'm
she held on the
singing
last morning, when I pried her loose and
to
lied
you.
and left. Only this time, nobody was going to pry us apart. This time, I got to be the one who held on.
My grandmother,
I found you.
come home,
She kept saying into my shoulder,
come home
over and over,
to me.
so only I could hear it. I found you. I found you.
Mother of my
I knew
mother,
if I sang loud
here I
enough,
am.
I'd find you.
You did,
right where
baby.
you can see.
I told her. You sang loud enough to reach a back room on the wrong end of town. Grandma heard you. Grandma's not letting go this time. Grandma came back. I'm sorry it took me so long. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Grandma finally came back. I don't know who won that show. I have never once cared to find out. My grandbaby lost the competition and won the only thing either of us had ever really been singing for. I want to tell you what I've learned. sitting in my 3 rooms these last months, with my granddaughter's number in my phone and her voice in my ear most every evening. And Denise, my Denise now. The daughter I fought for 20 years and got in the end anyway, checking on me on Sundays. I've learned that the doors we're most afraid to open are almost always the ones with somebody standing behind them who's been waiting. I closed a door on that baby out of fear and called it love. And I let it stay closed 20 years. And the whole time, on the other side of it, a child was growing up learning my name. And a woman I'd made my enemy was keeping a chair for me. And God was arranging for a song to come out of a television set and find me on my kitchen floor. If there's a door like that in your life, a person you gave up on, a name you stopped saying, a call you've been meaning to make for years and keep not making, I am an old woman who wasted 20 years, and I am telling you, go and open it. Make the call. Climb the steps. You do not have as much time as you think you do, and the forgetting comes for all of us in the end. But I promise you this, because I have lived it. Some people leave a light on for you long after you'd have understood if they turned it off. And it is never, ever too late to walk back toward it. Tell me where you're listening from tonight. And if there's somebody you've been meaning to call them tomorrow. Don't wait for a song to find you the way one found me. I'm Della Freeman, and this has been my story. Thank you for sitting with an old woman a while. Grandma's got somewhere to be. My granddaughter's coming for supper. And I've got yellow freesias on the table for the first time in 20 years that aren't going up a hill.